Alright, we're grading this. We need a pen.
Wait.
Who gave you that face?
Yeah.
I got that from Zayden and Natalie.
I bought it, okay?
Wait,
Okay.
for what?
Well,
Katie.
I picked it out, so. Yeah, Katie
And
picked it
Mark.
out.
What was the occasion?
It was Tuesday.
Oh, that's
Hey, yeah, we went to
Well,
go.
I wish I had that bottom.
I got it from Laura Lee as a gift.
I wish I had that bottom.
Me too. I wish I had his armpits.
Me too.
Who needs a pen?
Who is
I don't know
that?
what we're grading.
Oh,
wait,
I had a stroke.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Alright, how about
You
that?
should go back in the
I'll
closet.
take one.
That's
That's
cool.
okay, so I'm like right here. Like, I have 4 minutes.
Slightly toss it.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Alright, anybody else need a pen? I'm pretty much out. I'll have to reload. I've got another pack over here. People have been stealing this. New year, new pen.
I actually did the homework. I'm so got all this wrong.
Anybody? Would you, Riley?
What?
You need new pens? You need a pen?
No.
I like your hair, Riley.
You like my hair?
Ew, why do we need
I
pens?
stopped saying it.
It's a
This is
great
like, I
guess.
figured out.
Oh, I need one.
Come on, Mark.
You have to grade these?
Yeah.
Oh. So,
I actually did it tonight. I did too.
It's a joke. Do we actually grade things in here? No. we don't.
I just didn't do a couple of these, but I did all
It's
of
for you
them.
to check your work so you can mark it and fix it later in or now.
I just didn't do the bottom. I did like the maintenance.
I know. I know what people do to the bottom. We're just going to go through here. So, first things first. Oops.
I'm the realist.
Wow. Someone's having a good day. Alright, so,
I did it.
the shared side here is the key.
I did it.
And you get side angle side. Triple side for number 2. ASA for 3. 4 is ASA as well. Again, you're not really grading this. You're just trying to check your work. If you have questions about why it is, please raise your hand and stop
Can
me.
you start over? I was
SAS for number 1.
Okay.
Triple S for number 2. ASA for 3. So far, so good?
Yes.
I would hope so. We did them in class. 4 ASA. 5 AAS. 6 SAS. 7 AAS. 8 ASA. 9 Triple S. 10 ASA. 11 we're skipping. We're going to get to that in a second.
I guess
I have it.
I
don't know what I
guess
said.
that.
And then 12 is Triple S.
If I tell you, will I get extra credit?
Yes,
Wait,
absolutely.
hang on.
But
But
not
what
right
if we
now.
all have it?
Did you explain the number 7?
Yep. Anybody else have any questions other than number 7?
Yeah, I need help with number 7.
Okay, so 7 is one we need help with. Okay, so check out 7. The key was to notice vertical angles. Did you notice those?
Yeah.
Okay, so I bet you wrote ASA. All right, super common mistake.
I wrote SA.
So everybody, pay attention, please, because this is going to happen to you. So a common mistake is to write ASA, but that is incorrect. ASA means that we have a side in between two angles that are congruent. We don't have a side that's in between two angles. See how the side's in between the two angles? Angle, side is what we have here. Better?
Okay.
All right. Now, you might have been like, wait a minute. Can't I go angle, side, angle, and get ASA? And you'd be right, except we skip over both a side and an angle to do so. That's not okay.
Our SAA
So
is
it's
the
A
same
and
thing.
Hold on one second. What?
I got SAA.
Stop. I need to hear Macy.
SAA is the same thing as A.
Yeah, you can do forward and backwards the same. That's no big deal. But AAS is not the same thing as ASA. What other question do we have? That was your question, right, Quinn?
That was mine.
How was my question?
Was it all of your questions? Well,
Yes.
that's not what I meant. But fair enough.
The one that
Are we good? Because we're good, we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on the first page?
Wait. Sorry. Can you explain number 8?
Yeah, I can. All right, so the key was to notice that we have a shared side between the two triangles, right? And then if you look at one triangle at a time, I think it becomes more apparent what's going on. So if I cover this up, it's easier to see we have an angle, side, angle. What you might have done is you might have seen two angles in a side down at the bottom or at the top and done angle, angle, side. But remember, we have to look at one triangle at a time to see what they have in common. They have two pairs of angles, two pairs of sides, and then two pairs of angles in that order.
Can I feel my crumble?
Yes, you may. Any other questions on the first page other than 11?
Imagine not charging your phone was the way to start.
Imagine them breaking your charges.
What are we doing?
Do not pick on Mark. Mark is Christ on this earth. We've been over
Mark,
this.
you
He will judge us all one day.
Mark used to bully me really badly.
I bet he did.
When?
Mark's good at everything. Was he good at bullying? I bet
No,
he
he was really bad. He didn't know
Probably
what
the
to
best
do. Because he's not really a bully though.
Have you retired from bullying, Mark?
Are you ready?
Have you retired from bullying?
No. He called me.
He's not sure. Watch out, kids. He's not sure. He could strike again at any
He
moment.
left me on open last night. So.
Ooh.
Wait, I did?
Yeah, he did.
Mark.
Not for like an hour.
Friends don't leave friends on
I
open.
leave everyone on open.
I don't use Snapchat.
You know what I do? I text a bunch of
Nope,
people,
you're gonna tell
hey.
me.
I text a bunch of people, hey, and then they say hey back, and I leave them on open.
I should do that to every single person in my contacts today.
I do that.
That sounds like the chaotic energy I'm bringing in 2020.
Like for Snapchat, I just take a picture of me, like a weird picture of me, and I send it to everyone saying hey.
Yeah.
And I leave them on open when they respond.
Yeah.
That's what Maverick does. That's so annoying. Maverick would just be like,
Alright, page 2. So 13, side, side, side. 14, side, angle, side. 15, angle, angle, side. Did anybody struggle with 15 and say angle, side, angle?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so again, once again, it's not angle, side, angle, because that would imply that the side is between the angles, right? And it's not.
It looks like it.
It's actually not. If you go this way, it's angle, angle, side pretty clearly. Maybe you might have gone angle, side, angle
That's
this way.
exactly.
But here's the problem. You can't go this way because you would be skipping over both an angle and a side to get there. You see what I'm saying? If we go this way, you might say angle, side, angle. But the problem is that in order to get from this side to that angle, we're skipping both an angle and a side to get there. And that's not okay. So angle, skip a side, angle, right? Angle, angle, right? But then we have a side here. So angle, angle, side.
Oh, right.
Better? Okay. Yes?
So for it to be angle, side, angle, it has to be on like the same.
So check it out.
Oh, okay.
When you have something like this, that's angle, side, angle. Oops, sorry, that's angle, side, angle. That's side, side, angle, side.
Can you move it so I can, like, the example?
Oh, yes, hold on. Alright, when you have a triangle, a pair of triangles that have this in common. Okay, I'm only going to draw the one triangle because I'd just be drawing it twice, right? So if you have something like this, where it has an angle in common with another triangle, an angle in common with another triangle, and then the side is here, then we call that angle, side, angle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Angle with a side in between, then an angle. If you have a triangle like this, I'm going to draw it very similar, with an angle, a side, but the angle's here, right? Now we have angle, angle, side. Do you see it? We need two consecutive angles, one after the other, and then a side. That's what angle, angle, side means. So here's two consecutive angles without skipping, right? And then a side. Better? That's the difference between these two. Do you see it? No?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's alright. Katie, your hair's much better today. Did you spend the 2 hours this morning getting it done?
No, I woke up at, what time are we supposed to be here?
10.
Yeah, 9.
I almost died when I was going
Red.
to bus.
I woke up at 5 and then they're like, just kidding. Go back to
Me
bed.
too. I woke up at
And then I was
5:30
like,
and it said that.
alright, I'm up. I'm still gonna get there early. And they're like, just kidding. All schools are canceled. I'm like, what? And then it was like, nope, just kidding again. Not Morris.
I got that when I was on the bus, so I was like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm glad they didn't cancel school.
I'm not. Wait,
My-
I like seeing you guys.
My younger brother had to answer.
Oh, when I don't have school, I don't do anything.
I'm getting my hair done on Monday, so I answer the phone ever, so he just leaves it.
Why would you do
And
that?
we had to answer it and find out, and we didn't know. if
Because
it
we
was
don't have
us.
school. It's not a good thing.
Marissa, you're dumb.
No, she's not.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. I'm dumb. I actually.
And then the other one that gets confused sometimes is SAS.
I know.
That's when we have two sides that are congruent.
Sad.
That's right. With an angle in between that's used to
No, just like one blonde. Well, I have highlights. Am I blonde or brown? I did, like a year ago. Like this is
Now,
Oh.
again, order matters, ladies. Order matters. Angle between two sides is not the same as angle side side. We can't do that one, right? ASS does not work.
No.
Doesn't. Ass and ass backwards do not work. Next one is AAS. Again, angle, angle, side.
I got AS.
That's because you went like this way. Don't do that. That's my advice. 17 is side, angle, side. Right angle in between two sides. And then angle, side, angle. Angle, side, angle.
Where the hell did my music go?
All right. 1 through 18 on the bottom. Here's what this is trying to teach you. I don't care about you doing all of them. They're a pain in the butt, especially since we're here. It's my homework. It's my homework.
Extra credit.
Yep, 100 points to Gryffindor. All right. So it says FIG, and it wants to know what triangle it's congruent to. Well, the left side is congruent to the right. We already proved that with SAS. Now, when we write that it's congruent, we want to make sure the letters match up. So F and H are the angles that end up matching each other, right? So they go together in the first slide. F and H. I and I are going to be congruent angles, so they go here and here. And then G and G go here and here. Now, not always will G and G match up and I match up. Most of the time they will. There is a case where they won't. Look at number 2. It wants to know what NOP is congruent to. That's what number 2 on the backside says. So here's NOP, that's the top triangle, right? It's congruent to N, because N's congruent to N here. Q, because Q and O go together. And P, because P and P go together. So NQP. Diana, are you with me?
Yeah, sorry.
For real?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I did that.
Look at number 3, though. A common mistake is to say that ABC is congruent to EDC. It's not. A and E might be at the bottom, but they're not congruent to each other. A and D are congruent to each other. So when I write ABC, I'm going to write DEC, because D and A go together, B and E go together, and C go together. They smell when I'm stepping in here. A and D are congruent angles, so they go first, right? It said, what's congruent to ABC? Well, A and D go together, so I write D first. B and E go together, so I write E second. And then C and C go together. Do you understand the concept there? This is a really silly thing to get wrong on your quiz. It's not hard to understand, but it is weird if you don't get it, right? But once you get it, you'll be like, oh, okay, no big deal. So if you don't get it, please let me know. Trevor, how do you feel about this? Good? Riley? Feeling okay? All right. Marissa?
Wait, so like for number 3, it's just like basically like the angle is just like flipped.
It is for this one, right? And again, it's what ones go with each other is the order you write it in. Okay? So look at number 4. Number 4 on the back side, it says it's STU in that order. So let's write that. Triangle S, T, and U is going to be congruent to what other triangle? Diana, what's your question?
I was just gonna ask if I got it right.
For number 4?
Number 4, yeah.
Oh, we got this. All right, so Diana, S is the first letter. So we're talking about STU, that's the right triangle, the one over here, first off, right? So we're talking about this top triangle.
Yeah.
This is angle S in the top triangle. What angle does it match up with on the bottom triangle?
You?
Not U, because one is green and one is red.
Oh, so S?
It matches up with S. So it turns out it matches up with itself,
Okay.
right? Because there's 2 angle S's here. If we wanted to be persnickety, we could say angle TSU matches up with RSU, right? Then the next letter is T. What does angle T match up? Well, T is going to match up with this angle, right? The only other angle left over. So T and R go together. And then I think you can see that U and U matches itself here. Okay, so SRU. Let's take a look at number 7. I'm going to skip to there. Again, I don't care if you write all these down. Number 7, they say, what do they say for 7 on the backside? Anybody?
ACB.
ACB. Okay, well that's a weird way to write it. Okay, so ACB. What angle does A match up with on the other triangle? D, right? Those both go together. That was given to us. What angle does C match up with? Well, itself. It's a vertical angle. That means B and E must go together, right? So that's the correct way to write it. Yes?
I did it. Wait, so can it be ECD?
Can it be what?
ECD.
No, it cannot, because E does not match up with A.
Okay.
You see how they're different angles? A and D match up,
Okay.
and E and D match up. Okay? How you feeling? Good? Decent?
It should be DCD.
DCE, yep. ACB equals DCE, right? Or is congruent to. Let's look at 11. But before we get to that, I want to remind you of what we did last year, okay? Because you're going to need to call upon that. So here we go. If I have two lines that are cut by another line, we call that line that cuts it a transversal, okay? Whoops, let me zoom out. Even Macy was like, it's too much. All right. So, will these two angles here and here be congruent? Nope, not yet. I didn't say they're parallel, right? But if they are parallel, those angles will be congruent, right? Corresponding angles theorem. Remember that? For real? Okay. If it's given to us that this angle is congruent to that angle, if the corresponding angles are congruent, the reverse is also true. So if these are parallel, then these will be congruent, right? If these are congruent, then it also tells me these are parallel. Does that make sense? It goes both ways. So because I know those are congruent, I know these are parallel, okay? Which then means I can say these are congruent by corresponding and by vertical, right? I can also say these are congruent by corresponding, and then these are congruent by corresponding and by vertical, right? That's true if these are parallel. I know they're parallel if they tell me they're parallel by putting those marks there, right? Or if I know that one of the sets of corresponding angles are congruent, okay? It goes both ways. Let's draw 11 now. Here's 11. Looks something like this. And which way does the line go? This way. So we have two triangles. A top left triangle and a bottom right triangle. They give us that these sides are congruent and that these angles are congruent. Which ones? These ones. Now, you're probably pretty good at this now and see that they have a shared side, right? So your tendency is probably going to be to say, look, A, S, S, they're congruent. But ASS doesn't work, right? Neither does SSA. Ass and ass backwards do not work. Okay? We showed that yesterday. It's not enough to prove they're congruent. It only works when the triangles are right triangles. And that's why we call it HL, hypotenuse leg, right? When we have the hypotenuse and the leg matching. Now we don't know these are right triangles. We don't. Turns out they're not necessarily, right? So we can't use HL. We can't use ASS. So we need something else. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend these two lines. Because I know this line and this line are parallel. How do I know they're parallel? Because they have the same angle here and here. Just like before. If those two angles, the corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines must be parallel. So I have corresponding angles here and here, sort of. I'll show you. If I extend this out, I know that this is vertical, and look, I have corresponding angles congruent. Okay? So that means the lines are parallel. So I can say with confidence that this line is parallel to this line. Are we cool with that? Alright, so now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to show this a couple times, so stick with me for the first time. By the time I get through it the second time, you'll feel pretty decent. And if we need a little bit more, we'll do the third time, okay? This is kind of weird. So, I know, and this is very poorly drawn, that these are vertical angles, right? It's very poorly drawn, but they're vertical, okay? And I know because these are parallel, that corresponding angles will be congruent, right? And then I get this for vertical as well. We cool? I also know, now that I have these written down, that these two lines will end up being parallel. They're parallel because they're going off at the same angle, right? I have an angle here, not here, sorry, I didn't do it yet. This angle here is corresponding to this one. Or vertical is these, right? Are we good with that? Are we good with that? Okay, so now I know that these two lines are parallel because they're going off at the same angle. So all my lines are parallel, which then tells me that these are corresponding, right? And these are vertical. Same thing here. Are you cool with that? Now I've got this. I want you to ignore most of this stuff. I'm going to cut it up now, okay? Get rid of it. So you only focus on what I want you to focus on. out. Get a white background for you. Okay. Here we are. We have two triangles now. Notice now I have angle, angle, side. What I did all that work for was to get these green angles, right? So now I can say by angle, angle, side, they're congruent. It is true that they're congruent to themselves here, right? But that's not very useful. I guess you could also say angle, angle, side if you wanted, right? So angle, angle, side. That's what's going to make them congruent. Do I have you about 25%? Okay, let's do it again. Here's number 11. They give us that these sides are congruent. And they give us, can you guys see? Okay. And they give us that these angles are congruent. Because I have those angles, I know that this line and this line are going to be parallel. Because they're going off at the same angle, okay? Relative to this line right here. So this is going to be congruent, or I'm sorry, parallel to this line. I'm going to extend this out and extend this out as well. If I focus on over here, I think it's easy to see, or easier to see, that these two angles are vertical, right? And that these two are cap, corresponding. And then that means this is congruent by vertical as well, or cap here, right? By linear pair theorem, this angle and this angle is going to be the same as this angle and this angle, or by caps, you can do that as well, right? And then same thing here and here, that whole thing, right? I'm not going to mark that, but the whole thing from here all the way down will be the same as this angle, okay? I'm going to do the same thing over here, because now that I have these angles there, I know that these two lines are going to be parallel as well. Oh, sorry, hold on, not yet, not yet. Cap, right? Now I know these two lines are parallel. You with me? Okay. So these lines are parallel too. They're parallel. Now that I know that they're parallel, I can look here and say, look, transversal two parallel lines. That means this and this are cap. Same thing with this. Vertical angles like that, and that's cap to this. It's verticals to this. Okay? All lines end up being parallel because I'm able to show with these two that these two are parallel. And then by using these angles, I'm able to show these two are parallel. After that, angles match up. Right? Now, I don't need all that information. I just used it to get this. I wanted these two angles available to me, so I can say angle, angle, side. Right? So I'm going to cut it up. Okay. So now I've got angle, angle, side. Better? One last time. Slightly different than number 11. Okay? See if you can follow along. I'm going to not talk. I'm going to see if you guys can follow along without talking at all. See if you can follow my logic without me saying anything. Here's the original diagram. And I'm going to make it slightly different than 11. 11 had the line going this way. I'm going to have it go this way. Follow along in your head.
write them?
That's the idea. You will, not this week.
What if we just like know?
You'll just show the work, okay? It's really hard to grade this, right? Because you just go through and just mark everything, right?
Right, because like that's not
Exactly. But I wanted to do this because 2 reasons. One, I want you to get the general idea before we start writing it. And then 2, so you can kind of BS your way a little through this, right? And then 2, because remember when I told you guys about angle, side, and side, and side, angle, side, all those, right? Those are theorems, but they're only provable if you accept one of these to be a postulate. So we have to accept one to be true no matter what, and then we can prove the rest. So right now we're accepting one to be true no matter what. We're accepting them all to be true. And then next week I'll choose which one that's going to be, and the rest will actually prove, okay? But that's the idea. Angle, side. This is the hardest one, hands down on the quiz. You can kind of BS your way through it, I'll be honest, right? You can. But hopefully you don't. That way when we get to it next week and write it down, you'll actually know what you're doing. Yeah.
Zayden helped me on that one.
Right. Oh, I didn't ask if you were gonna. I'll give you something though. Yeah. Yeah, Quinn?
So for like number 11, couldn't you do like if you had that, couldn't you just do the opposite side? Like if you take the diagonal lines, couldn't you just say like since the 2 that are given are corresponding, the other 2 are corresponding?
So you're saying if I extend this out, I get these by vertical, and I know these are the same
Yeah.
because like alternate zero angles or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. What if I extend these 2? I think you're right, but I might need to do something else for that. Ooh, okay, I got it. Here. So Quinn, you could do this. And this is what we're gonna do sort of next week. We've always like known what alternate interior angles are, but we've never actually used them in a proof. If you were to extend this, you would know that these, what am I saying here? If you can prove that these 2 lines are parallel, then you could say by alternate interior angles these are the same.
Okay.
But you have to be able to prove the parallel first, and in order to do that, you have to establish the other angles.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well done, Quinn.
Wait, can I see it?
That's the thing about this problem, right? To get to
You're Meredith.
I am there. To get to the lines being parallel is the hard part, right? After that, everything's free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
What?
Good eye.
Yeah.
What rap character?
It feels like
Yeah.
What rap artist would
I
you
got a
call?
good eye.
What is Michael Scott's character when he goes to prison? Pardon Mike.
Prison Mike.
Prison Mike.
You got Post Malone.
I got Post Malone. Wow.
I got him too, but he smells bad, so I don't
Yeah, I
want
hope I
it.
don't smell like Post Malone.
I still need my $3. You never paid.
You know Autumn Castle?
I need to die.
Yeah.
She's one of my best friends. And she just sent me a picture of her next tattoo.
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome.
It is. Her first tattoo's really sick. I don't know if it's her first, but it's yeah.
It's her first year.
So
What do you get?
And she didn't color it soon.
Uh-huh.
Or not colored in. I guess she's doing black and white. She's doing it.
She's gonna be getting it finished, like all the detailing done. I'll answer.
This is 90% of the quiz. I'll probably give you one of these, and yeah, you can BS your way through it this week, sort of, for that one, right? I hope you don't and actually wrestle with it, but still get the points. What we did earlier in the week will be on there as well. It's just a little bit of that. I'll give you the review guide tomorrow. It'll be fine. This is a very simple quiz. I don't mean it's easy. It's simple because there's not a whole lot of stuff on it, right? But it doesn't mean it's easy.
Wait, there's 6 hours on right?
Go away.
Frank! I got Frank. I love Frank so much. Send me a
Are you going to
Hey,
text her?
yeah.
Are you going to text her?
Nope.
You're not going to text her? You're just going to leave it?
Nope.
Are you going
She'll
to
ignore
text
it.
Jamie about it?
You can act like it never happened.
Don't do that.
Just like how I never happened.
Yeah, okay.
turn around with my stuff.